brave. All right, we've got a couple more people hopping on, and then I just have a few announcements to make. I will explain my outfit. I normally do not wear t-shirts to work, but today there was a special occasion. Well, welcome to the 6th Sales and Networking panel. Today, our panel is going to dive into building trust in sales situations. I'm really excited to hear what the panel has to say. So to dive in, next week is St. Patrick's Day, and we are having a morning networking blitz. Some of you guys were on our networking blitz last week or the week before. And so we are doing a little St. Patrick's Day raffle. So if you have already registered, or if you register by Friday, you will get 2 extra tickets to win our little raffle basket we have going on. There's going to be some little goodies in there that are St. Patrick's themes. We're partnering with some local breweries to make a cute little St. Patrick's Day basket for you. So if you'd like to join, I will send out the link to register after the call. So we'll hope that you'll feel lucky and come join us on St. Patrick's Day. Now that my shameless plug is done, I'm so excited to bring you Chris Vasquez and virtually Chris Harris. He could not be with us today, so he recorded a video for you guys. And then Mark Bernecker, they're going to dive into creating trust in sales situations. So Chris V, you have the floor.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to Courtney and the Chamber for letting us do this. Building trust is a big thing right now, especially during COVID with apprehensive buyers. I mean, everyone's just a little more cautious with spending money and whatnot. So I utilize something called the DROP method, D-R-O-P, dependability, reviews, owning mistakes, and person, as in being one. So what I mean by that is when it comes to dependability, you really want to make yourself available and reliable to your customer. Be responsive, be accountable, and consistent with them. I'm not going to spend too much time on dependability because we all know what it's about, but just being available and making sure you kind of own everything. Now, the next one I'll spend a bit more time on is R, and that's reviews. Now, when it comes to B2C sales, you really want to have your happy customers sell for you. Would it be better than actual reviews? About 80% of Americans, when prior to purchasing anything online or any large purchase, do Google searches and reviews, things along that matter. Google reviews are one of the #1 most reliable things that people will lean to. Only problem is, statistically speaking, people are 10 times more likely to post a bad Google review than they are to post a positive one. So that's kind of the pros and cons of Google reviews. So you do got to be careful with those. But if you know you have a good product, if you know you have a good service, ask those clients, hey, shoot me a Google review, grade me on there. Let them not only speak about your service, but about your personality. A lot of people, they're not only looking for a particular service, but they're looking for a type of personality when dealing with somebody. And what I mean by that is some people aren't looking for that over pushy salesman. Some people are looking for more, casual, laid back. Others are looking for just extremely informative. So you really want to take that into consideration. Now, obviously, Google reviews are important, but they're not your only type of review. Testimonials are absolutely fantastic. Now, if you have an actual brick and mortar shop, you can set yourself up a little book right in the front lobby, if you have one, of past testimonials of prior clients. This way, you're really building that trust with your clientele. Now, the O and DROP method is owning mistakes. Let's be honest, nobody's perfect. And if they tell you are, I'm going to tell you right now, they're lying. If it's an older organization and you might not even been with them long enough to have been present when some of the prior mistakes have happened, learn about them and understand how that was fixed. Pretending you don't know what was going on is really not building that trust with that person. Now, if it's a current mistake, maybe that you did on your own, you forgot to send an email, you couldn't come through with a service you provided in a timely manner, own the mistake, but follow up with an amazing resolution. Don't just say, hey, listen, sorry, I forgot to, send my guy out to, clean your carpets. Say, hey, I apologize. I'm going to knock off 10%. He'll be out next Tuesday. That shows them that they can trust you and that you're human. One of the things someone always tells me, I work in senior living. They always say, well, I'm looking at 10 different competitors. Typically they are, we have quite a bit of competition in the area. And I always tell them this, we're not perfect here, but I guarantee you that I will fix any problem that comes forward. Last step in the drop method is person, as in B1. You really need to consider your B2C sales as any other type of relationship that you're having. Treat them like your neighbor, treat them like a colleague, treat them like your friend. People can tell when you're being genuine with them as opposed to treating them like a deal. So really sit down and genuinely listen to them to find out what their needs are and understand that they are people and understand that we're all going through COVID together. It's not easy for everyone. So maybe if they're not getting back to you, maybe it might be because their child's doing Zoom at home, school. So just treat the person like an individual. But that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Chris Harris to talk about that topic a bit more.
Hey, I'm sorry I can't be here live today, but I did want to pick up where Chris left off from his drop method, particularly on how do you become a good person? How are you a good person and a good salesperson? And most people don't agree that those two can exist at the same time. According to Discover.org, in fact, they did some research and came up with only 18% of buyers believe salespeople are honest. That's bad. So what are some qualities of a good, honest person that you would want to work with? Well, they listen well, they're helpful, they don't pressure you in any way, and they're honest, meaning they're transparent and they act in the buyer's or the potential buyer's best interest, and that potential buyer feels that. So I want to dive into listening a little bit. So most of you realize you shouldn't be talking more than you're listening in a sales situation. In most situations, I really subscribe to the 80-20 method. And in this context, we're not talking about productivity. We're actually talking about the prospect or the prospective client should be speaking 80% of the time, and you should be speaking only 20% of the time. So what should you be doing while you're speaking? Well, if you catch yourself opening up your mouth, wait. Wait means, why am I talking? So ask yourself right before you open your mouth, why am I talking? Originally, I thought there were only two reasons you should be talking. One is to ask a question, or two is to answer a question. But there is a third time you should be talking, which is when you're going to offer insights or information that is relevant, meaningful, and useful in the context of your conversation. And we're going to get to that one in a little bit. So when we're talking about listening, I want you to consider being empathetic while you're listening. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, empathy is the ability for you to connect with someone on a very human level, but also to put yourself in their shoes. In fact, in a similar study, being empathetic and making an emotional connection with a buyer can increase your sales outcomes by 50%. That means your close ratios could potentially jump by 50% if you master the art of empathy. Now, what is empathetic listening versus active listening? Most of us know what active listening is. Active listening is basically a way of parroting, meaning you basically reformulate or paraphrase what someone has said so that they feel that you heard them. Yes, I heard basically what you're saying is that you need a product that's 20% below budget or whatever it was. Well, that definitely conveys that you're listening to them. However, as we know as humans, we can kind of half listen and regurgitate the last part of the sentence pretty easily. On a subtle level, people pick that up. So what is empathetic listening? Empathetic listening is actually a coaching tool. Really good coaches and therapists use this. It's the act of clearing one's mind when someone is speaking. Meaning, as human beings and as problem solvers, as salespeople, when we hear something in a conversation, we're like, I got to talk about that, or I know exactly what they need, but I'm going to let them go for a while before I offer up a solution. That's all the background noise in your mind. Turn it off, and it is harder than you think. So practice this with a significant other or with one of your children or whomever you feel that you really want to listen to intently. Meaning, don't let your dialogue in your mind override what you're hearing. Silence your mind. Only listen to the words coming out of someone's mouth without drawing any conclusions or jumping into problem solving until they are finished speaking. When you do that, you can find opportunities to connect with someone on an emotional level. I hear you. What I really detect in your tone is that you're agitated about X, Y, and Z. Or what you'll realize is the first solution that you may have jumped to might have been the wrong one as you really let this conversation flow. You'll also uncover opportunities. Again, remember those insights. Well, any insights that especially help them navigate a potential pitfall they didn't know existed, or something else that they find are of value will happen when you practice this deep, deep empathetic listening. Which brings me to the last piece of you'll also find ways of being helpful. Remember, a good human being is helpful. Well, the old sales mantra is ABC, always be closing. Well, that means you're always looking for an opportunity to sell something. People feel that. When you're ABH, always be helpful. You're always looking for an opportunity to help this person, of course, after some deep listening. And if your product happens to help them, is a good fit for them and their situation, by all means, offer it up. But there are other ways that you can offer, that you can help someone that might not necessarily be your product. It could be those insights, so that information you may have to share. It could be other resources in the community that you can offer up that might be helpful, or people in your network. So that's kind of what this is all about. And when you can exhibit those behaviors of being a good person, so being empathetic when you listen, asking better questions, not talking a lot, making a personal connection, you become trustworthy. Then you've got a whole new ball of wax that you're dealing with. You become a trusted advisor. And Mark's going to dig in a little deeper about what it is to be trustworthy and what that looks like. Thanks.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I actually got to a point where I could pull over. So Courtney, I'm doing this right. So I wasn't going to do this while driving. Sorry, I'm multitasking today, but I guess the good news is more customers are wanting to see people in person. So I'm taking advantage of that today, the best I can. But to piggyback what Chris was just saying, and to continue the theme on trust, I actually wanted to focus on a couple of scenarios that I went through recently, and I actually crafted these out in bullet points, which Courtney can share after. But basically, what I wanted to go through is basically how do you earn trust in a scenario where you have yet to have an opportunity to actually earn that trust. You don't know anyone. This is your first time walking in the door, or maybe this is an example of one example where something has been passed to you, where someone else may have had trust, but I mean, you have zero trust. So, there's some critical things that you need to have in your arsenal. You need to be prepared to have examples, of yourself, personal references, testimonials of the business, references on the business, any tool that you possibly would need to establish some fact-oriented baseline of trust with someone. Very, very critical. And fact-finding, making sure, did I lose y'all? Someone called me in the middle. Okay, making sure that you actually do some fact finding before you actually go see these individuals. It's critical. I mean, this is a way that you're potentially discovering some potential hiccups or pressure points that you could be walking into, and no one wants to bring up a hiccup. You'd rather have that individual bring up the hiccup for you. And lastly, communicating with confidence. Like, if you do all your research, you have all your testimonials, that's all you can possibly do. They know nothing about you, but if you have these with you and you communicate and just show that you're absolutely positive during the whole scenario, you're going to earn their trust before you walk out the door. So my first example, I recently had an example where an existing customer of our organization who'd been with they've been a customer for about 10 years, actually notified us that they were unhappy with one of the products that they acquired from us over the years. And in my business, that's phone. So with this being a phone product, a 10-year-old voice over IP phone, for those that don't know VoIP, it's really end of life. Phones today are more like computers than they are the old rotary phone. So if you get 10 years out of a computer phone, that's pretty good. So they really thought in their mind that when they purchased the equipment 10 years ago, that the organization, like as in ours, sold them, just not a solid product. So basically, once I found this out, I set up an in-person conversation because I'm talking with no one that knows me. I didn't know them. The right thing to do was like, all right, let's sit down and talk about what's going on with this product and, how can we fix it? So I spent the initial, we set up the conversation. I focused really on the first 15 minutes being about their organization. Then I used that into rolling over to who was I within the organization, and how experienced was I. So it's really was rapport building and finding commonalities, and which is essentially trust building. So that put me in a position where I could then share historical product information with them, so they knew that the product they did acquire 10 years ago was actually it was best in class product. What they didn't know is the phones they purchased were computers. They were not rotary phones, so they actually have a shelf life. So the previous individual who sold them that equipment really just sold the equipment. No one really did a dive into how long this stuff would last. Plus, they opted for a lower end brand, and they didn't do a warranty where they could have got new equipment. So we put all that on the table. Then by the time we got there, I was in position to talk about today's equipment and present them with new equipment that was really focused around what they needed as a business. And then the outcome was they refreshed all their equipment. They weren't actually dissatisfied with the service we were personally providing their organization. They were dissatisfied with that particular product they had acquired 10 years ago, and they didn't realize there was a shelf life, and they didn't have a warranty. So, within a 30-minute conversation, trust was established and business was closed. That was just one recent example for me. The other example I wanted to share is a pending sale. Am I freezing up on everyone? On anyone? The other thing I wanted to share is was a pending sale, but the customer had never heard of me, and they had never heard of Cloud9 voice over IP. This is where I think over engagement is critical. Like in a scenario in my world, you typically have 2 to 3 meetings to close the deal. That's the average cycle time of our business. In this case, it ended up being, I think it was 5, and actually throw a phone call in there. It was literally 6 meetings before I could close the business. And it was only because they didn't know me, and they didn't know Cloud9 as a business. It took multiple levels of meetings with individuals within the organization. It took multiple testimonials. It took multiple references, and it really took a full team approach to build trust with this customer to eventually sign up and go with us. And I share this because a lot of salespeople will give up. They'll give up on the first appointment or the second appointment. They'll just be like, well, they don't like my product or service. They don't like me. Most of the the time, that's not the case. You're just not spending enough time getting to know them and them getting to know you. There's nothing wrong with our product or service. I've been in sales for 25 years, but at the end of the day, they didn't know me from anyone, and I had to earn their trust. So, you know, I think, and I just want to share what I've learned, particularly in the small business arena. If you do not have testimonials and references on hand to give people on the ready at an appointment, your probability to lose to a competitor is pretty high. So, the one thing I wanted to get across today on the whole trust thing is really use this as an exercise to get those testimonials and references together. If you're like me, I came into an industry and a business that I knew nothing about. I literally had to sit down the owners and sit down service people within the business to say, hey, who do you know? Who can talk about our service? Who can I put in front of a customer? What can I put on paper? And if you have all that, I mean, you will be successful. Thank you. Courtney?
Yep, sorry, I couldn't click mute fast enough. So now we're going to open the floor for any questions. You guys feel free to unmute yourselves and ask the guys questions. Chris Harris did say that if you had any questions specifically on what he talked about, that you can send him an email. I will provide his email in an email after this call.
Not all at once now.
I'll ask a question.
No,
I'll ask a question to our guests, just because I'm curious. How many of you carry along or have on the ready testimonials or references?
I wouldn't say, like, for me, so our business, I'm not the primary sales guy. I'm doing the business development behind the scenes, the networking. I have a crew of guys that go out to jobs, give estimates, and try to sell the jobs on site. We don't have any testimonials on hand. So that's something that I'd like to look into, to build into our little script that we give our customers before each appointment. So the script basically is telling them who we are, what we do, and we have full transparency in our pricing model, like you guys were talking about. And with our line of business with junk removal, we're often running into people who are looking to clean out an estate. We have to deal with a lot of people who are experiencing loss, so we have a lot of the empathy with our customers. So we build our rapport through that and through transparency. But I think building the testimonials to include those in our script, I think that'd be really good and important.
Zach, especially with your industry, I think that's where that Google review is really going to play, into your favor. I'd get on those to see if you could get them up. Just because, and the amount, your Google review also plays into the role in your search bar. So the correlation between those two is the more Google reviews that you have, when someone searches, let's say, junk removal, you'll come up higher on the list. So the more Google reviews you have, and positive ones I should say, you'll keep coming up further. And let's be honest, it's kind of like the phone book. You're going to maybe attack the first 5, industries you see on the top. So it'll be the first 5 junk removals you see. So, but if you're not up there, you're not even giving yourself a fair shot. But I'm glad you brought up the point about being empathetic, because typically you are dealing with people who just lost a loved one, so I would really get some of those to put that in there. Just because I mentioned that, especially in my field as well, no one is too thrilled about moving into assisted living. Mom and dad always thought they would be, at home forever. So just being very empathetic to their situation, I get my name tossed around a lot, just like, hey, Chris is non-pushy. Like, he's very understanding of what it is. So if you get a couple Google reviews like that, just saying how awesome you were and how, you approach the situation, you're setting yourself up for absolute success, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
And also, in my experience, Google reviews, you should be trying to get a minimum of 1 a month. just to kind of keep you relevant in the Google bar search. So just at least one a month.
So what we do, we're backed by Contractor Nation. They're a dealer network that the drawing company is part of. And so they have a little app. And after every job, our guys are asking our customers if we could send them, what it is we click Google My Business and we send them a link straight to their phone and they can review us on there. And so ideally we're sending 12 to 15 out a week. I don't know if they're sending out that many per week, and I don't know how many people are filling them out, but ideally that's what's happening.
And the great, like you were saying, adding those numbers into your script, if you could say, hey, we could proudly say we're a 5, we have 120 5-star reviews on Google or Google Business, whatever the case may be. That's, like we said, building trust. 120 people can't be wrong about you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So let's just be honest. The more people you're doing it, like I mentioned, you buy anything online. What's the first thing you do? You Google it, and if it comes up, you have a ton of negative reviews, you're going to start questioning it. But if you got, 100 plus positive reviews, everyone's going to be like, wow, Zach's a great guy and I don't even know him.
Yeah.
I got a couple testimonials on one of our brochures where I got with both the owners of the companies to, publish their name and the testimonial, where when I'm talking with the customer, I'm just like, look, they've both given me permission for you to call them whenever to discuss our service. And I got that idea from a marketing company up in Richmond. They gave me that. So, and it seems to be working. Can't say it's foolproof, but it's been a nice little added touch to, particularly in my business, like salespeople are like still do drop-offs, like literally will do a drop and stuff like that. So, leave behinds are a big deal, in my world. So we have that published.
The biggest question that people I talk to have is whether or not residents actually read our magazine and whether their ad is going to be seen. So we have testimonials from residents about how much they enjoy the magazine, how engaged they are with it.
That's great.
I don't carry it with me though. I probably should start doing that, but we do have them available.
Yeah, I mean, Marilyn, I know your business quite well, and yeah, I think every one of your sales calls, you're pretty good at showing off those testimonials as well. We've done business in the past, just showing, because that is the number one question. Am I going to buy a contract with you all and no one's going to read it? But the fact that I remember you presented those to me, you're like, hey, look, we're actually a very big part. But I think that the content of your magazine is also fantastic, because you do the highlight of the residents and whatnot, and who doesn't want to get to know their neighbors? So that draws them into the magazine, then they'll see the testimonial. So no, I think you're doing a fantastic job with that.
Thank you.
Carl said in the chat, we talked about testimonials for the business council would be helpful for potential new members. And yes, that is coming. That is on Amanda's plate, but I'm also cheating this year. I am out and about delivering decals, and I'm dragging my membership committee and ambassadors with me so I can they can talk about their experience. So I'm cheating a little bit, but that's kind of how I do it too.
I don't think that's cheating. I think it's smart.
Yeah, Mark's my victim on Thursday.
Yes, I can't wait. Which is great news for you, because I love this stuff.
I know, right? I'm excited.
Yeah. What I don't love, and this is totally off topic, if you've ever had to do one of these Zoom calls on a freaking mobile phone, is the pop-ups. So sorry if you keep seeing me do this, but these dang pop-ups keep coming up on my phone. I'm like, go away, stop.
You are all good. You handled it like a champ. Does anybody else have any more questions for Mark or Chris? Good to go. Well, I guess we will wrap it up early. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, for anyone, I mean, I know with myself and both Chris's, that outside these conversations, we love talking sales and talking sales all the time. I mean, between the three of us, there's probably I don't know, 75 years sales experience. So, you know, if anyone knows business owners out there that could use help in, you know, just talking about sales, I'm finding, you know, there's a lot of great business owners out there with great concepts, great services. But when you get to the sales side of things, they trip up over themselves a lot. And I'll use my business, the owner of Cloud9, case in point, who's an engineer by trade. The last thing the guy ever wants to do is sell anything. So he comes up with every excuse like to not sell. And I have been finding, since I'm dealing with a lot of similar small business owners, that's the case. And if you're ever just needing ideas or wanting to bounce ideas off of anyone, I know most of us are, you know, we're open to doing that. I mean, we're all tied to the Williamsburg business community, and the more we can help each other, particularly now with COVID, to network and create warm networking, happy to do it. So that's all I wanted to say, Courtney.
I second that, Mark. That's absolutely true. You know, you're more than welcome to help anybody out, even just bounce some ideas. Sometimes that's all you need, is just be able to sit there and bounce a couple ideas off somebody. You know, two heads are better than one. And no, anytime anyone needs assistance, be more than happy to help out.
Awesome.
Thank you
Well,
for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys, and say thank you as always. Great job. The three of them really work hard to put these things together, and I've honestly learned a lot from them myself. So thank you. And also, one quick thing: on Wednesday, the Business Council is having a workplace wellness webinar at 10 o'clock with Kim Goltham, and she's kind of going to talk about where, you know, your workplace has shifted throughout COVID, what's working, what's not. I'll include that link to register in there as well. She's actually going to do like a little energizer, so you're going to be like stretching and doing stuff. So it's not going to be your average Zoom call. So I'm excited about that.
Cool.
And if you would like to register for the networking blitz, it's going to be on St. Patrick's Day. Wear your green, or I will come to your office and pinch you myself after the call. See, Zach's got it. Zach's got it. He's good. He's cheating though, because that's in his color. But I'll provide a link to register for that if you haven't already done so. And if you guys have any questions about anything, email me. You'll have Chris and Mark's information as well. So you guys just enjoy the rest of your day. It's beautiful. So go outside.
Yeah,
thank you, everybody.
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you very
you,
much.
guys.
This was great.
Thank you so much.